Because like, what if someone like robs a bank and then you're there and then the police come to you and then they're like, can you describe this person? I can't be like, he's wearing like a black shirt. Hello, class. Today I wanted to talk about the concept of practice making you better at things. So, in general, when we repeat a skill many times, we get better and more confident at it. Hence, practice makes perfect. But there are many examples in life in which this isn't true. So, there are things that we practice repeatedly and we just become more confident and not actually any better in terms of skill. And the reason this happens is that we have to think about why practice makes us better at things. So we take the feedback from our trials and then we implement what we've learned into the next repetition. So if there's anything that disturbs this system, for example, not actually getting feedback or getting like false feedback or any other reason in which you wouldn't actually use the feedback. So I have 3 examples that I've noticed in my personal life of things that we are very confident about but not necessarily good at. So the first thing is driving in the middle of your lane. So next time you're driving, just try to notice everyone around you and you'll see that most everyone isn't really like dead center in their car lane. Most people think that they are, or that they have a good feel of how big their car is and where it sits in the middle of the lane. But how often do you really stop your car while you're driving and then like get out and go like in the middle of the back of the lane and to see how centered your car really is? Because like the only instances in when you actually try to do something like that is maybe after you park, you kind of take a look and make sure your car is within the parking spot. But this is different because the way that you park into the parking spot and you do that 90-degree right turn, it isn't representative of how you usually drive when you're driving straight in a lane. But I think if you open up the conversation with people in your car about how centered your car is currently as you're driving, you'll see that people have different opinions about this and everyone seems to be very sure about it because you've driven so much. But the thing is, like, just because you've driven so much doesn't mean you've actually had a chance to learn from all your driving experiences and that you've actually gotten any better. If anything, you just became more confident in your wrongness. The second example of things that you practice at and you become very confident at but you're not necessarily good at is picking fruit at the supermarket, especially watermelons. So everyone likes to tap on the watermelons to decide if we've got a good watermelon, and then we go home and then we eat it and then either it's sweet or it's not sweet. But I realized that even when you pick like a beautiful watermelon, if it ends up being not sweet, we don't really take the feedback next time we go pick a new watermelon. Like, we just pick the same kind of watermelon anyway because for whatever reason, illogically in our heads, we're like, well, that one was just off, instead of saying like, maybe there was something about my idea of a perfect watermelon that is wrong and I need to correct. And the other problem in this is that there's just too many factors that go into watermelon selection. Size, the greenness, how thick the stripes are, how hollow the sound is, the general shape and symmetry. There's like a little seam along the watermelon that shows that a bird tried to eat it. There's just too many factors and we never really take the time to really think through how to like control for one factor and then change the other factors and think about how sweet the watermelon is. Like, basically we buy the watermelon and then we go home and then we eat it, and then by the time we're eating it we forget how we felt and all the details of the watermelon that we picked, so that we're not really learning from this experience. We're just getting more and more confident at picking watermelons and we might not be getting any better at it. My third example, which is probably me specific, is guessing people's heights and weights. This started because of powerlifting weight classes. I thought it was really interesting that you can kind of guess like how much people weigh based on like their height and then their build. And then I realized that this is actually a really useful skill because like, what if someone like robs a bank and then you're there and then the police come to you and then they're like, can you describe this person? I can't be like, he's wearing like a black shirt. You've got to say things like, oh, he's like 6 foot tall and like 215 pounds or something. So the way I started practicing this is that I started just guessing how tall and how much people weighed, like just walking around the city, and then I feel very confident in my abilities, but I never actually go up to these people and ask like, hey, are you really 6 foot and 215 pounds? I just kind of keep rehashing my own thoughts against myself, so I'm not really getting any better at it. So if you can think about anything that you do during your days that you're very confident about but maybe you're actually not any better because you're not taking feedback in the right way, or that you're not able to take feedback because it's just such a complex issue. Let me know in the comments. I'm actually pretty curious if there's anything else I'm doing in my everyday life that's not getting any better.